Hey everyone, welcome to my second video of my new and upgraded YouTube channel. This morning I am at the Mason Gross School of the Arts at Rutgers University in New Jersey. I've been on fall break for the weekend until this Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And so I decided to come out to the city and to visit my friend in New Jersey. And so I've kind of just been hanging out, not practicing. I walked 15 miles through New York the other day and, got my exercise for like 2 weeks. My favorite way to use breaks from school is to travel. And even if I've been to a place before, like somewhere like New York, you need like so many trips to really like see a lot. So today's topic is on living. And what I mean by that is like places we've lived, places we want to live, the process that goes into that, and what it's been like for me in the last few years as I've moved quite a lot. So right now I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and so this is actually the fifth place that I've lived in 5 years. And so I consider living somewhere to be anywhere you've lived for more than 2 months with an address. So I guess to start, in 2015, I lived in Appleton, Wisconsin. That was my senior year there. And then I studied abroad in London for 2.5 months. And then the summer directly following that, I moved to Falmouth, Massachusetts, on the Cape of Cod. And I lived there for 3 months and then moved back to Appleton, Wisconsin for my fifth year of undergrad. And then after completing my time in Appleton, I moved to Miami for 2 years. And the 2 summers that I had between these 2 years, I went back to Falmouth, Massachusetts. So in total, I've lived in Massachusetts for about 9 months over the last 4 years. And then after my time in Miami, I moved to Louisville. And so I've been thinking a lot about all of this moving lately. And I've just come to the realization that, for some people, being able to move this much is something that they don't, and they might not even do in a lifetime. I know for myself, though, that I really enjoy picking up and moving as much as I can. And it's made me a bit of a minimalist, actually. When I lived in Appleton, I felt very at home there for 5 years. It took me so long to get used to it because I moved there from my hometown of Burlington, which is on the southern side of Wisconsin. But 5 years to live somewhere is a very long time, and so I got very settled. And then once I had studied abroad, I came to the conclusion that I didn't want to live somewhere for 5 years again, at least not for a while. And I wanted to make sure that when I do live somewhere for that long, it's somewhere I'm truly happy being. When I lived in London, it was such a dream because I was able to take the tube everywhere around the city, and I did so much walking, and the museums are free. I love British accents, and so talking to people there was so much fun for me. And there's a lot of parks in London, so I was able to kind of go to these parks and almost feel like I wasn't in London anymore because some of them are so big, such as Hyde Park and Regent's Park, but there was other ones that I found around the city that I would go to, and suddenly I would feel like I'm in Wisconsin right now. This is what it looks like there. I was transported in certain places in that city. And London did quite a lot for me in terms of my style because I never felt like I was the most put together person style-wise before I moved there, but when you go there, you see these people who, like, every day of their lives, they come into the city on the tube and they have great outfits. I mean, I tried to buy some new clothes before I went there to sort of fit in a little bit, but it was very inspirational to see the way that people dressed there every day. And I think ever since then, it's been really hard for me to dress down, wearing sweatpants and, such, unless they're stylish sweatpants, you can make that work. But I had a really baggy pair of sweatpants that I used to wear that I bought at Lawrence, and, I've never worn them since. London also did a lot for my self-confidence because I was able to go out by myself and see everything I wanted to see, and I got very used to being alone on the tube and just fitting in, being quiet, sticking to myself, uh, and I became a very independent person by wandering all over that city, and kind of making my own itineraries for every day. I was kind of a loner during that period, and I had some friends in my study abroad program, but I really wanted to make that time about me and doing what I wanted to do. Um, and so for me, that was seeing a lot of museums. It was wandering the streets, seeing the people, seeing the fashion, tasting the foods, uh, you know, anything I could do to kind of diversify myself from the place I had been used to living in my whole life in Wisconsin. Cape Cod was beautiful. Uh, we lived in a 19th century uh, mansion of sorts. It was this huge building, and it was just maybe 300 feet from the ocean. Very short walk, 5-minute walk. And, I was able to go to the beach nearly every day. And if it wasn't there on the beach, I could walk there and just listen to music and kind of unwind from the crazy work schedule I had there because I was working for the College Light Opera Company, um, which was a very, very intense job. I was used to uh, performing 8 or 9 shows throughout the summer, and for each show we would perform it, I believe 7 times, and so every night we were performing almost, and every morning we were rehearsing for a new show um, for the coming week. So it was very intense, and I tried to use my time off there as much as I could to wander around the Falmouth area and to take day trips out to Martha's Vineyard, Boston, Nantucket, Woods Hole, all those small places on the Cape, Provincetown. Miami was actually the one that I was most excited about. I had thought that before I studied abroad in London that I was really excited about that move, but knowing that you're really moving somewhere to, do something like starting school, or that you're going to be there for longer than 2.5 months, and you might have the possibility of staying there, once your studies are complete. That it was so exciting for me because when I first visited Miami, I fell in love with everything I saw. I loved the ocean and the architecture in Miami and the variety of cultures represented in the city. There's a very large Cuban community, and the foods are amazing and diverse. Um, Oftentimes when I would ride the train, the above ground train in Miami, uh, I would be oftentimes the only white person on the train. And so that alone was just a very different experience for me. And I'll never forget the sunsets in Miami. They were so unique compared to any other place I've been. And it might be Florida in general, but there's always just something about the colors of the clouds with the sunsets. Unfortunately, Miami was a very, very expensive place to live, and I didn't have the best luck with finding a lot of work there. And so there was a lot of struggle for me in Miami, that I might go into in a future video. Um, and it was very bizarre because I had this beautiful place that I loved being in so much, that I had built up so much anticipation to arrive at. And then a lot of problems arose during my 2 years there. Um, but at the same time, a lot of really great stuff happened, and I feel like my 2 years in Miami really defined my resume. And that brings me to Louisville. Louisville, I have to say, at the moment, I feel like is a very transitional place for me. I don't know if I see myself living here for more than a year. I am enrolled in a degree program, but it is my main priority to um, re-audition for the New World Symphony in Miami and potentially the Orchestra Now at Bard College in New York. Um, because while I do really enjoy living and understanding Louisville as a city, um, it doesn't really match with the kind of cities that I've really enjoyed living in. You know, Miami was beautiful, and it's kind of my goal to eventually return there in some capacity. Maybe not forever, but I want to go back and have a better experience being there. And Louisville is nice, and I live in the old Louisville district, which is full of old mansions and just beautiful homes. And it's going to be Halloween here soon, and I can't wait to see how everyone decorates these homes. But I think definitely coming from Miami, it can be hard to live in a place like Louisville, um, just because the music school is a lot smaller, um, and the downtown is smaller. Like everything seems a lot older, whereas in Miami everything was new and chic, and I just felt so invigorated with life every day there. Everything I saw, the plants, the animals wandering all over the place, you know, these strange ducks wandered all around our campus. And they were the ugliest things I've ever seen, but they were so different. And there were lizards and iguanas and cats everywhere, in addition to all these beautiful buildings and people everywhere. You know, it was quite a place to be. And so, in a way, I feel very awkward in Louisville. I'm not really sure exactly what this next year of my life is about. Um, but, you know, there are good things happening. I've got a lot of performances coming up around the country, and I actually just recently, a few days, found out that I am being given an instrument and bow loan through the Maestro Foundation in Santa Monica, California. And so this is something that I've been waiting to hear about for a couple of months now. And that I'm really excited because they lend out instruments to people who can't afford to buy very high quality ones themselves. So I'm just really excited to see what this is going to do for my career, and hopefully it'll help me out with the auditions I'll be taking and recordings that I'll make in the coming months. And I've been really fortunate in the last 4 years to have been doing so much traveling. And I think one of the perks of this traveling is that I've seen which parts of the country and of Europe that I think I would enjoy living in. Um, and so in the United States, the city that I've sort of fixated on is Denver. Um, I went to Denver for the first time in 2015 to visit the University of Denver and CU Boulder, which is next door, essentially. Um, and I found an instant connection because I love elevation and mountains and hiking and being an outdoorsy person. I was a Boy Scout growing up, and so I have a lot of experience camping and, you know, fending for myself in the outdoors, and so that resonated with me a lot. And I feel like the kind of people that live in Colorado are there almost for that reason. Like, they enjoy that lifestyle, and I want to be a part of that. Another thing too is it's very dry there, and I'm not a huge fan of rain. You know, some people really like Seattle. And when I was in Miami, it rained a lot, and I can't say I was a huge fan of it. I forget to bring umbrellas with me everywhere, so it's nice when it just doesn't rain. The winters in Denver are also very mild, uh, so I'm not a huge fan of winter either. So it would be ideal. And I feel as a visual artist and a musician that Colorado in general is actually a great place to be. There's so many major music festivals that take place in Colorado, and the scene for artists I think is fantastic there. And personally, being a ceramic artist, I would feel very at home uh, because Colorado just seems like a place to me that ceramists would thrive because it's such an earth-based landscape, and ceramics is all about manipulating the earth to create art. And so I feel like I would just feel completely at home as an artist living there. In Europe, the city that sort of captured me the most is Amsterdam. I've been to Amsterdam 3 times. I love this city so much because it is so picturesque. And everything sort of looks the same. You walk around and you just can get lost in a maze of canals, and there's something that's so romantic about it. Out of the European cities I've been to, Amsterdam seems to be the most English friendly, um, other than, I guess, cities in the UK. But um, everyone there speaks English very well, and everyone is incredibly friendly. I've been to some countries in Europe where it's a lot more difficult to talk to people. But I feel every time I'm in Amsterdam that, you know, I am understood, and, um, I can easily talk to anyone who I approach and they will understand me. So a little sub-tangent that led me to my topic about talking about Denver um, is that in my first year in Miami in 2017, we had a big name jazz musician come and visit the Henry Mancini Orchestra, which I had a fellowship with during my 2 years there. And so we all sat in a room, and he sort of looked around at us, and he would call on random musicians in the room and ask, where do you want to live and what do you want to be doing? And it was the living part that sort of struck me about this question, because as musicians, we often assume that we have to live where our work takes us. And so it like caught me off guard when I was asked to think about where I wanted to live and what I wanted to do together in the same sentence, and to sort of think of them hand in hand. Because particularly as an orchestra musician, like you can't really plan where you want to live that well, because when it comes down to it, you're gonna move wherever they're gonna pay you to play. So it can be really hard to have that dream of being an orchestral musician and also want to be somewhere that makes you happy. Because like if I got a job with the Chicago Symphony, of course I would take it. Um, but I'm not quite sure I would be the happiest living in Chicago, you know? And so for me, right now, I'm sort of in this place where I'm trying to figure out, do I want to move somewhere more than I want to have a particular job? I feel very strongly about Colorado, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to be able to do there for work. There is the Colorado Symphony, but you can never guarantee there's going to be an opening that you're even going to be able to win it. So, and I go there a lot to perform with my ensembles, and I do this because I want to create a network in Colorado. So that way, if I eventually decide to move there, then I have people that I can talk to that can hopefully help me find work. Because I could see myself being a freelance musician, teacher, and hopefully I'd be able to travel a lot. Like I think no matter what I'm doing, I want to be based in Denver, um, and be able to, travel from there. It can be really hard in life to find the balance between living and doing what you love. And it's something I think about every day, and I'm very tempted to just pick up and move sometimes to Colorado because I feel whole there. And it can be really hard to persevere through career moves and hoping that everything that you're doing with your career will hopefully land you in the place that you want to be. Some people don't care that much about where they live as long as they're doing something that they enjoy, but I'm kind of a whole picture kind of person. Like, I need to be somewhere I love seeing every day and love the people, in addition to what I'm doing. So I hope you enjoyed this video, talking a little bit about the last few years and my travels and dreams for where I want to live. And I'll hopefully be making a video in the next week, so check back then. Thank you for watching. Bye.